Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. The St. Lucia National Trust is defending its position to continue advocating for the preservation of historical sites in St. Lucia. On Thursday, the 28th of November, the National Trust held a press conference to provide a post-AGM briefing. The AGM became a topic of great discussion following the address of Prime Minister Alan Shasney, who questioned the consistency of the trust and also accused them of a shameful attack on an investor. Solange Alfred tells us more.
The 43rd AGM of the St. Lucia National Trust was nothing short of interesting. Following the event held on November 16th and a swearing-in of a new council, the Trust sought to gather at the conference room at Auberge Seraphine to provide a detailed breakdown of matters addressed during the AGM. One of the matters warranted a swift response from St. Lucia Archaeological Heritage Society's Laurent Jean-Pierre, who answers to detractors who question the role of the SLNT in furthering the development of St. Lucia. His statements come against the backdrop of Prime Minister Alan Shasney's recent address to the AGM that questioned the consistency of the trust in matters of development, as was the case with the proposed Dolphin Park.
Let's go to the research. Let's look at what's happening around the world. Is it an outdated model of development? Is it necessary in this dispensation? What are the repercussions to our natural waters where we swim and bathe and where we enjoy our enjoyment and entertainment? For us, our health. These are the things.
Meanwhile, touting the importance of sustainable development was elected member of the St. Lucia National Trust Council, Calix George.
The Trust is pro-development. The Trust is pro-sustainable development. If you look at any major countries around the world's largest tourism destinations, France, Egypt, Spain, the United Kingdom, what do people go for? They largely go for the heritage, to enjoy the heritage of the country, the natural beauty of the country, and that's what people want to come to see when they come to St. Lucia. It's an essential aspect of development. And what do we use to advertise St. Lucia all the time? The Petors, the Sulphur Springs, pictures of Pigeon Island. And in fact, we also have, and what we were saying is that not only do we have a magnificently beautiful country from a natural perspective, but also the people and the history of that country need to be celebrated as well.
The Trust continues to advocate for protection of St. Lucia's natural and built heritage and preservation of the island's unique St. Lucianness amidst strides for economic development of St. Lucia. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Minister for National Security and Justice, Senator Hermangill Francis, fresh off a recent trip to Miami, says the matter of the U.S.-imposed Leahy laws continues to burden the island. Senator Francis speaks against the backdrop of an increase in lawlessness on island and says the assistance now more than ever is needed.
The Leahy Law prohibits the U.S. Department of Defense from assisting foreign nations that have violated human rights with impunity. St. Lucia's sordid history surrounding alleged extrajudicial killings centered on Operation Restore Confidence landed the island on the U.S.'s bad books. Minister for National Security Hermangill Francis, on a recent trip to Miami, advocated for the elimination of the imposed Leahy Law on St. Lucia. He made an impassioned plea to U.S. officials at the Southcom and CANSEC military leaders meeting. He says he made attempts to draw a true picture of St. Lucia's current crime situation.
I did visit Miami together with my DPS, Mr. Quinlan. We went to attend the Southcom meeting and CANSEC. Southcom is really South America and the Caribbean military leaders and police commissioners to attend these meetings. And then CANSEC involves the Canadians with us. So the Canadians were there. I attended because the commissioner cannot attend because of the Leahy Law. And at that meeting, again, I reiterated to the persons there that the Leahy Law is having a devastating effect on our police officers' morale and crime in St. Lucia. I mentioned that a country of 180,000 people, we already have 42 homicides. Okay? And then I compared it to a country like Grenada, where there's only about 5 or 6 homicides. And when I sat there and I listened to the amount of things that were being given to other countries, the kind of assistance that Grenada and St. Vincent, Barbados, Dominica, Guyana were getting, I really, really, really felt bad. And I almost shed a tear. So I was forced to make a statement.
Furthermore, Francis says the Leahy law imposed on St. Lucia continues to act as a tight grip around the neck of the island, choking justice and restricting intervention by the world's superpower.
Persons don't like to hear this, but at the end of the day, Dr. Kenny Anthony is the architect of this thing, and we are paying for political reasons, okay? That he used that to win an election and took the police and threw them under the bus. And for the police now to recover is going to be extremely difficult. On the election trail, I did in fact say that the impacts report is going to hang Kenny Anthony. But whichever government wins the election is going to have a very difficult time in dealing with that Leahy law.
Meanwhile, the minister clarified recent regional reports that attached him to statements revolving around a proposed pledge by the United States government to fund a new border control entity for St. Lucia. Minister Francis says as far as the funding for that project is concerned, the government of St. Lucia has no agreement in place to receive funds from the United States government. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Now, in a recent interview with Hot 7 TV News, former Police Commissioner Vernon Fossois said he is tired of hearing the cries about not receiving training assistance from the U.S. for local law enforcement under the Leahy laws. Fossois says it is high time that St. Lucia governments stop depending on crumbs from other countries and assert their independence by showing their creativity and taking on the responsibility for training their forces.
The imposition of the Leahy laws in the aftermath of Operation Restore Confidence meant that the Royal St. Lucia Police Force was cut off from training and funding from the U.S. The Leahy laws are U.S. human rights laws that prohibit the U.S. Department of State or Department of Defense from providing military assistance to foreign security force units that violate human rights with impunity. The loss of that collaborative relationship with the U.S. on national security matters has often been cited as a major setback for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Former Police Commissioner Vernon Fossois, who headed Operation Restore Confidence, is tired of the rhetoric. He says governments need to stop depending on handouts and get on with the business of seeing about their own affairs.
I think government of St. Lucia needs to assert its independence and do what they have to do. They should not be, if we are an independent country, we should not be crying and say, oh, Americans not giving us training, or Jamaicans not giving us training, or Barbadians not. We need to understand that training our police officers should be a core responsibility of the government of St. Lucia and don't have to be depending on crumbs from our other people. It will be a great thing, really, if we have better relationship with all other countries, United States included, really. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We have to assert our independence as a country.
According to Fossois, the loss of U.S. training did not cripple the police force in his time, and he certainly does not believe it is a major issue for law enforcement. He points more to discipline issues within the force as its major challenge.
I'm not saying that it's not important for us to have good relationship with them, because, I mean, these people were, in my time, we were really great partners, really, the American and the St. Lucian government. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that you're independent. So you have to be creative and look at ways of training our police officers. And I'm not sure that the training that was provided by the Americans is what is really, in a sense, keeping the police department, or at least from looking at it from the outside, keeping the police department behind, really. I think a lot of what is happening now, from my point of view, from somebody from the outside, has to do with attitude and things along that line.
The government of St. Lucia has been working with the U.S. government in hopes of lifting the restrictions of the Leahy laws. However, the laws are clear that in the case of extrajudicial killings, there must be credible prosecutions.
Leader of the opposition, Philip J. Pierre, has been very vocal on issues and areas of concern as it relates to the operations of the current UWP administration. He has gone on record as an advocate for good governance and transparency, both causes that many argue require a functional public accounts committee. On Thursday, at a press conference at the Leader of the Opposition's office, Pierre was questioned about what seems like a lack of interest in convening the Public Accounts Committee, regardless of his authority as chairperson to do so. Pierre attributes these delays to the unavailability of personnel who he claims to be of utmost importance to the functionality of the committee.
But in St. Lucia, the Public Accounts Committee its staff ought to be the Director of Audit and the audit staff. That is not possible. The Director of Audit is very busy, so the time necessary that the Public Account Committee should have, it doesn't have it. So it's a long question that all leaders of the opposition always have to encounter. Why don't you convene a Public Accounts Committee meeting? It's something I have to deal with all the time, something Kenny Ante had to deal with all the time, something Stevenson King had. The fact is, the system doesn't allow the Public Accounts Committee to work what to do. Very simple.
The Public Accounts Committee holds the duty to examine the accounts showing the appropriation of sums granted by the legislature to meet public expenditure, and therefore it is a mechanism for overseeing government revenue to ensure that financial announcements are honest. Pierre says that given the nature of St. Lucia's Public Accounts Committee, having been previously institutionalized by standing order but not constitution, its structure must be revisited.
What we need is we need to have a complete revamping. We need to have a complete, if I want to use the word, restructuring of the Public Accounts Committee. And it's got to be a creature of the Constitution.
Pierre says that in order for him to convene the committee, there will be a buildup of documentation to review through various administrations. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.